Even as I make podcasts, remember me. Even though I make podcasts, I don't remember the rest of the cadence, so I'm just gonna stop.
You know, I just want you to know that we plan a lot of this podcast out. I mean, like, we usually have a notebook or we have, like, notes open
Yeah.
on the phone, and we're, like, typing out or, like, really planning what we want to talk about. And can I tell you that in all the time that we've been doing this, he has never once briefed me even a little bit on what he's planning on singing when we push record. And this was a surprise. Like,
For a minute.
actually, they're all surprises. I never have any clue what he's about to do.
Well, usually it's themed around whatever we want to talk about.
And yet, I'm never truly prepared. Like, before we pushed record, he was like, oh, wait, let me, like, think about what I want to say. So he thought about it for a minute, and I still was not ready, so
Well,
here we are.
For a minute, I was like, shoot, what am I gonna sing this time? And then I'm like, wait a minute, we just saw a movie with a lot of music. Like, the most musically Pixar movie of all time.
That's actually pretty true.
But, welcome back to the Disney Desk, the most magical podcast on Earth. I'm Carter.
And I'm Sydney.
And I swear we're trying to get a more regular schedule, but a number of factors, really.
Yeah.
One, we're both college students. Sydney's knee-deep in preparing for a big performance.
Yes, and Carter is knee-deep in procrastinated projects.
Yes, a 20-page essay about the Phantom Menace, a 6-page essay about Hamlet and its religious allegory.
Ew.
And also, I'm making my senior thesis film, which...
Hooray!
Yeah, it's a cool one. It's about a girl who's about to graduate college without picking a major, and also space.
Awesome. Except, how long do you have to do it to complete it?
What do you mean?
Like, aren't you going to start recording that very soon? Or,
oh, yeah,
sorry,
we're
filming it?
I'm filming it starting next week. It has to be about 18 to 20 minutes, and I'm just going to go for it.
I guess that's the only option you have at this point, is to just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, heck, how long was that movie I made in high school? That was, like, almost 30.
30 minutes?
Yeah.
And I felt like recording that took a while, but, like, granted, we only have class periods to, like, do it.
I wasn't getting paid to do that.
Right, that's true. So, you're getting paid to do this?
Well, I mean, I got 18. You know, you get a little money for, like, a stipend where it's like, all right, use this money to help make your movie.
Oh, got it. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah,
but,
no,
like,
you don't get paid.
You aren't, like,
no. I do not
receiving a
profit
paycheck.
anything from
Okay,
this.
cool.
Any money I make from the funding campaign I'm doing basically is me refunding myself for anything I buy.
Right, that goes over budget.
I end up at zero. I don't go into the red or the green.
But one can dream.
Yeah. And also, so we also realized even if we had time, we don't have 2 functional laptops for the job.
Right.
Even mine doesn't really work because I don't have sound.
Rough. Yeah, like, we can't even listen to this podcast on the spot. Like, he'll have to go home later and get headphones and plug them in because his laptop
stinks.
Is poopy, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But, welcome to yet another episode. Winter break's coming up, so we'll have a little more.
Right, so we'll be able to crank out a little bit more for you guys. And also, I hope YouTube is going better for you guys as far as, like, listening or accessing this podcast, because we tried to fool around with that SoundCloud foolishness, and it was foolishness, so it didn't work. So we're posting this stuff to YouTube, which I think will be more accessible for everyone anyway.
Yeah, so. There's a reason it has a monopoly on the entire video.
Right.
It's a problem we have yet to address and will slowly destroy monetization on the internet as we know it. But hey, we're going to have some fun until then. Let's live it up. Rome's about to set on fire, but let's eat some grapes and watch people stab each other.
I just shrugged. I understand now that is not audible, but I did like that shruggy guy. Like, did you see, like, what's that shrug stick person meme? That, like, shows
like
up,
the dash,
shruggy, yeah,
slant, dash,
exactly.
Face,
that is
dash,
what I just did.
Yeah. Yeah, but so as my musical soap opera intro hinted at, we saw Coco. That was our Black Friday celebration.
Yes. Also, happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Pocahontas was kidnapped.
She was a child.
We could... Oh, well, we'll talk about that off stage. But anywho, so... We are going to talk about Coco. I think both of us really dug it.
Oh, for sure. It was amazing.
It's Pixar's latest film. I'm not sure what number it is, but at this point, we're pretty deep into the Pixar game.
Yeah.
It also came with a short feature starring Olaf the Snowman, so we can talk about that too. And, yeah, we're just gonna go with the flow, see what we want to talk about, and go from there.
Yeah, hope you enjoy.
Alright, and I'll let the jingly transition music take you into the next part. Okay, so I don't know about you, but
I'm feeling 22.
We're done. Game over. I'm leaving. Just no.
And that concludes this episode of Disney Desk.
Alright, no, but, yeah, so for some reason I always forget that Disney still does animated shorts in front of most of their movies.
Right.
So,
now for me, like, going into this movie, I forgot that it was going to be this Olaf thing, Olaf's Frozen Adventure. When I first, like, saw the, Steamboat Willie thing, I was like, oh, this is going to be, like, another hilarious short, just, like, before Moana. What was that one called? I forget, but that was a really nice one.
Oh, what was the one in front of Moana? Oh,
it was
geez.
the one where, like, the guy, like, in his brain, it keeps telling him how he's gonna die.
Yeah, Brain Heart Guy.
Right, Brain Heart Guy. That had,
rated
like, a
PG-13.
name. Right,
Brain
exactly. Brain Heart Guy. No, but that was a really charming one. So in my mind, I was like, oh, this is gonna be another good one that I'm gonna really like. And then as soon as, like, I saw Arendelle open up, I was like, oh, this thing.
Well, I remembered it was the Olaf one the minute I saw the Steamboat Willie, where I'm like, oh no, they were promoting this, weren't they?
Yeah, they totally were.
So, yes, the short for this film was Olaf's Frozen Adventure.
Frozen Adventure, yeah.
Yeah, really get the name brand recognition in there.
Cool, yeah. If you forgot, this was from Frozen. Olaf from Frozen, you know? Frozen, yeah. Olaf.
Olaf, the snowman from Frozen.
From Frozen, you know?
Everyone's
he was in
character,
Frozen.
Voiced by Josh Gad.
Yeah, from Frozen. Josh Gad, who played Olaf from Frozen.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, the basic plot is it is Christmas time, or whatever the non-religious affiliated version of that in the world of Arendelle would be.
Right.
So they're excited to get everything started, but the problem is, well, every other family in Arendelle has some kind of Christmas tradition that they always do. Elsa and Anna do not, because their parents separated them when they were children, because that's a totally...
like, normal way to handle...
That's a reasonable way to handle your daughter having a volatile power based on her emotions.
Right, exactly. Just separate them forever, and they'll figure out
a misunderstanding that'll get everyone killed.
Duh.
And, like, look, I like Frozen, but I have to admit that I much prefer the original idea where they weren't completely isolated. Like, why not just have her separated during the winter time? Because it's like, oh, her powers are most, like...
But to be honest, like, I don't remember a time where Arendelle, like, wasn't snowy, even during a time where I thought that it was, like, the warmest season.
Yeah.
It's still kind of cold?
Well, they had that other short, the springtime one, where it's, like, nice and sunny.
Oh. Huh.
And Elsa has a cold, and she creates a bunch more sentient little snow critters.
Oh, okay. Well, what I will say about this short... like, just to go off of what you said about, like, how they didn't need to be separated. The part that I liked right out of the gate, which I didn't realize until now that I wanted more of, was, like, more interactions between Anna and Elsa. Which I was like, oh, wow, like, they are together and, like, not arguing. But then they ruined that. Like, they did end up arguing. And Elsa slammed some more doors, which she's, like, super good at doing, slamming doors at people's faces.
At some point it stops
I realized
being
how rude she is as a person. Like, she's so rude. Like... why do you just, like, walk around, like, you just, like, she just throws these little fits and like, slams doors. I'm like, lady, like, is that how we really, is that all she knows how to do is, like, go to her room?
I guess.
Like, as an adult, like.
Like, at some point, that stops being emotionally affecting. Like,
right.
You can only, like, storm out of, like, a conversation so many times to have any, like, emotional impact or weight to it.
Right.
People are gonna stop, like,
taking that seriously. Yeah. They're like, oh, there she goes again. Like... but come on, lady. Like, but anyway, it was really nice to see some sister-sister interactions. It was also really nice to hear Idina Menzel sing more than one song.
Amen.
And we'll talk about the music, like, but I was like, oh wow, like, I love her. And and she gets to sing more other than, like, one ballad. Like, she sang a lot in the short.
I will say, yeah. I mean, like, look, I like all the characters. I even like Olaf. I like the world. I
Yes.
like the tone that they go for, that sort of modernist, like, Princess Bride vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like everything about Frozen. It's just annoying because for me, you can't have it both ways. You can't do all of these shorts and then also do a full feature-length sequel, Frozen 2,
Right.
or Frozen The Dark World, or Frozen Winter Soldier, or whatever you end up calling it.
Frozen Elsa slams a door.
Yeah, Frozen...
Elsa's final door.
To slam... Yeah,
which is
the last
like
door.
a Frozen Monsters, Inc. crossover.
I love it.
I don't know. I literally just made that up. Okay.
But, yeah, like, because in my head, the whole point of doing shorts based around, like, your franchises is we don't have enough ideas to make a whole sequel, but we can keep these characters in our merchandise rotation, or, like, keep their spirit alive through shorts. So, like, after Toy Story 3, when it was like, well, that's the end of Toy Story, it's like, well, let's do all these shorts. Toy Story of Terror.
With these other toys, with that hedgehog and the
hedgehog and the peas in the pod.
Exactly,
and, And those were good. But now that they're making a sequel, Toy Story 4, they've stopped doing the shorts because it's like, we don't need that anymore.
Right.
For me, it's just annoying, like, getting this, like, glitzy, fun, brisk short, and then knowing I'm gonna see all these characters again for a whole 90-plus minutes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I made peace with them in, like, little flashes. Like, that's all I really wanted to see. I don't know that I'm ready for another movie with, like, this has-been actor hedgehog, like, talking, do you know what I mean? Like, reciting Shakespeare. But, back to Olaf's Frozen Adventure.
Yeah.
I feel like they spent too much money on this. Like,
it felt that way.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, because when I realized, I was like, wow, every person in this town has a speaking role. Like, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that every, like, human being spoke. So they hired, like...
How many voice actors?
At least, they had to have at least hired, like, I want to say 15 extra voice actors that could each do, like, 2 voices. Because
and
when
who
I
could
say...
sing.
And who could sing, yeah, because, like, when I said that they spoke to, like, the main characters interacted with all of these townspeople, like, everybody had a speaking part. And I was like, why was this all necessary? Like, aren't we cool with just, like, the people who work in the castle, like, are kind of interacting with them? Like, why are we interacting with everybody in this city? Like,
and on top of that, like, sort of the arc of the story is Olaf is going from
like,
house to house.
He literally goes door to door,
Yeah, to get, like, various traditions and ideas. Not to mention, by giving everyone a song, that means you have to bring in Josh Gad, who's currently pretty busy trying to get, like, a serious acting career going with Marshall and Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
They gotta get in Dina Menzel, who is already expensive
Who's
enough.
expensive because she's a Dina Menzel.
To get
Kristen Bell.
I always forget.
Who's, like, probably not that busy doing Bad Moms or whatever that thing is called.
Yeah, but she's still, she's still a big enough name that she costs money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You have to get them in to record their lines. You have to get them in to sing. You have to hire someone to write all that music.
Exactly.
Because this is, like, wall-to-wall singing. Like, I know that was true about the previous short, but that was just one big song.
Right.
This is song, stop and talk. Song, stop and talk.
Like, when we say this
montage.
was a feature, like, a full-length movie that they condensed into a short, it really was. It was like
6 songs.
Watching a musical. Yeah, it was an entire movie from beginning to end, but just, like, condensed. So the music became, to the point, it was, like, overwhelming. Like, I remember in the theater thinking to my head, I was like, wow, are we still watching this? Like, I've made peace with it. I'm done. I have my resolution in my head. Like, I don't really need all of this. I don't need another song. And because, like, I feel like these songs were written really fast. Like, they weren't Disney songs.
They were fine.
They were fine. Yeah. Like, as, you know what I mean? Like,
they're
they weren't horrible, because, like I said, we get to hear Idina Menzel sing.
Yeah, they're bouncy, they get the job done, they get you from point A to B.
Right, exactly. But
like,
it was just, like, really, like, poor
no one's gonna
rhyming.
remember
I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, we found some words
they just felt off.
They really did. Like, they weren't songs that I, like, want to sing again. They weren't Let It Go. Oh, my God. Yeah. And the songs, I felt like the songs were just taking the buzzwords from, like, the last movie's music, because, like, the opening song, they kept saying the word, like, for the first time in forever, and I was like, they couldn't write a brand new song. Like, they just took, like, callbacks. The important lines from the, like, okay, that's it.
That's,
like, I was like, they really couldn't do any more with this, but no, they couldn't, because, like, they tried to squeeze a movie into a short.
It's like, it was fan service crossed with, like, it feels like the first take is what they went with. Because it's like,
yeah.
I imagine Let It Go went through like 100 different iterations. Or there was like multiple versions of How Far I Go that were nothing like How Far I Go. Because it's like, we need a song here to capture this specific emotion, this specific idea, and to get this plot point across. And, you know, you work on it, and if everything works well, you get that perfect version of that. Like Let It Go or How Far I'll Go.
Right.
Where it's like, it's
almost
powerful,
there.
It captures the spirit. Yeah, almost there. Where it's like, this is the perfect song for this situation.
Right.
Whereas in this, it literally felt like, well, we just need to get point A to point B. Let's just write something out.
Write words in between there, yeah.
And also, this retcons a big part of Frozen. So, kind of the whole build-up is, like, they're trying to find their Christmas tradition, and what Anna realizes is their Christmas tradition was Olaf. So, remember how, in the beginning of Frozen, the big movie, they're making snowmen together, and Elsa goes, I'm Olaf.
I like warm hugs.
Yeah, like, she's the one who sets up that character as, like, a thing, and then he comes back later as a real character. Apparently, they used to do that all the time.
Every Christmas, apparently, there was,
And even when they were separated, Anna would draw her and slide it under the door.
Would give her, like a hand-drawn Christmas card that would just be a picture of Olaf.
So, Olaf is a Christmas tradition. And,
apparently.
Like, it's cute, and it's a nice way to wrap everything up in, like, a nice little bow. But also...
no pun intended.
That's...
Hey.
But that is seriously retconning your entire movie.
Yeah.
Like, you've established that they have not interacted beyond Anna asking for her to open up the door. And you've, like, effectively changed that. And I mean, whatever, you can argue this isn't canon, you can argue this, you can argue that, but you do have to own that.
I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like they, like, all these, well... during this little short when they're trying to find tradition, like, Olaf, I guess we are just spoiling this whole thing.
Who cares?
Who cares? Okay, Olaf is the one going out and actually, like, trying to find a tradition. As I said before, like, Elsa stormed off.
Yeah.
And, like, they weren't really doing anything but just, like, crying in their respective corners. And then they accidentally find this box of, like, Olaf stuff, but
which is like, how did you forget that? That's one of, like, 2 things you own.
That, like, this is one of 2 pieces of your, like, childhood memories. Is like, how could you not have forgotten what you've been trying to do all this time? Like for Anna, like, how did she not know?
Remember
like,
that
you spent time making a little Olaf out of, like, sticks or whatever, out of, like, little rope. Like, that she made this little Olaf doll thing. It looked like a voodoo doll, but it
I was gonna say, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy looking, but it was supposed to be Olaf, and she, like, gave it to Elsa. I'm like, you guys, you only have, like, 2 things to work with, and if, like, for your entire lives, like, so, how did we not, like, and she, Elsa knew that she had a box full of gloves. Like, she literally had a chest, like a treasure chest looking, like, suitcase thing, and then she was like, oh, that's filled with gloves. Like,
and also this really important thing,
and also, like,
that
a
I've apparently
box,
forgotten.
Yeah, that just has pictures of Olaf in it. So, like,
all right, I feel like we're being too harsh, though. I will say
we weren't supposed to talk about this long. We were just supposed to. We're at, where are we? Like, almost 13 minutes. Were at 13
let's
minutes.
just say, like, it's cute and it's well made. Like, the animation is gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
They always wow me with what they can do with Elsa's powers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when they light up the tree at the end, and it sends all these, like, shockwaves through the ground. Like, they know how to make the snow look gorgeous.
Right.
There's a couple good jokes. Like, when he's like, so you cut down a tree and decorate its corpse? Or, like, circumstances end up having, Olaf lose all of these traditions he's been collecting down a cavern. And they shoot it, like, top down, so you see it falling, and then after 2 minutes it explodes, and I'm like, alright, that's a fun little visual joke. Like, it's cute, the kids will like it.
Oh, yeah.
But, again, I'm just kind of like, I don't care.
I was ready for it to be over pretty quickly. Like,
yeah, I just wanted to get to the movie.
Not that there was too much wrong with it, even though we just talked about what was wrong with it for nearly 15 minutes, but it was fine. Like, that's what I have to say about the whole thing. It was fine.
Kids will like it.
Kids will like it. It was fine. It was fine. That's all. It was fine, yeah. It was fine,
yeah. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with our feature film, Coco.
Coco.
All right, and we're back.
And we're back.
So, I think this is the first time we've ever done a review for a movie that just came out.
Right.
Like, I think we've only really done one big review, and that was for Beauty and the Beast. But
that was like far detached from the one that released.
Several months out, and also on top of that, it was based on a plot everyone already knew.
Right. Oh, well, we did record right before, we recorded the day before it premiered. Remember? Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, yeah.
And then we were like, we'll get to it. And then, like, months went by.
Well,
and we were like, yeah, I saw it. Did you see it? Yeah. So.
So Coco is an original idea, brand new IP from DreamWorks, Pixar, and Disney.
How dare you speak that name?
Do you want to start over?
In this household?
No, we have to keep that in.
The damage is done now.
Yeah, we just
you
have
already let the words come out
because
of your
in my
mouth.
head I was thinking Disney, but then I thought of DreamWorks for some reason. Oh God, that's like when you accidentally say your ex's name. Oh no! Oh no!
Yep, that damage is irreversible now. It happened. You said it.
Oh lordy! All right.
Well, okay.
But
let's
point being,
rewind.
This is the first time we are reviewing a film right when it comes out, where we could ruin.
The first time we recorded something like immediately after seeing it. When I tell you, like, we are eating the theater popcorn right now. Like, there you go. There it is, people. We literally just came out of the movie theater and came right home, and now we're recording this. So it's fresh, like.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to talk for about 15 to 20 minutes, spoiler-free, general thoughts, talking about things like the art and the music and the characters and, general plot stuff.
Right.
But nothing that would ruin a twist or a surprise.
Exactly.
And then we will take a quick break and come back and do a quick spoiler where we talk about the actual plot and the meat of the product.
Exactly.
Does that sound fair? I think that sounds fair.
Cool.
So, like I said, Coco is the Day of the Dead movie Pixar has been pushing for almost 6 or 7 years now, really.
Really?
Yeah, because
I didn't know that.
They announced it around the same time they announced Inside Out and The Good Dinosaur. It was like those were a package of 3 before any of them were named.
Did they do that at a D23?
Yeah, D23 setup.
Oh,
and
interesting.
So they announced, they were like, we're making a film based on Day of the Dead, a film based on dinosaur, what would happen if dinosaurs were still around, and a film about being inside someone's head. And so Inside Out came out, it was great. Good Dinosaur came out, it was alright.
It was,
forgettable.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
I actually haven't bothered to see it. I was actually like, I remember when that came out, and I was like, ew, why would anybody want to go? Like, in my mind, I was already against it. I was like, just put it down, and I was like, actually, yes. I was like, I don't want this.
It's the realistic and the cartoon smashing together, right?
I haven't, but I thought that we already talked about dinosaurs, Disney.
Yeah.
So I was
done. And it wasn't that good that time either.
I was done. I was like, I don't want to revisit this subject. I'm over it. Yeah. So I never saw it.
And then Coco got delayed and delayed and delayed. And this is a film, of those original 3, this was the one I was most excited for because I thought there's a lot of cool visual stuff, a lot of cool, big, like, epic ideas you could play around with. Like, obviously, I am not super versed in the cultural aspects or the mythology of the Day of the Dead.
Neither am I, actually.
But I know enough to know it's exciting.
Right, yeah.
This is how excited I was for it. Pete Docter, the director of Inside Out, came just before that was being released to promote it. And I meet him afterwards, like, he's shaking everyone's hand, signing autographs. This? It was at NYU.
Where? At
one of our theaters we own.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the first thing I asked him, I go, hey, are you guys still making that Day of the Dead movie? And he pauses for a second. I'm like, uh-oh.
Oh, no.
And then he's like, oh, yeah, no, we're doing that. We got a lot of cool ideas for that. And so,
wow.
This has been a long time coming for me.
Oh my gosh. How long ago was that?
Oh, was that freshman year or sophomore year? It couldn't have.
Oh, wow.
It might have been freshman year. Oof.
Oh, wow, then. So, like, maybe 2014, 2015.
It would have been, like, 2015, I think.
I guess. Yeah, we started freshman year 2014, like fall of 2014. Okay, so that would have been like 2015 probably.
And
interesting.
This is something we wanted to talk about too. You and me, we've been worrying about this film a little bit.
Have we? I don't remember.
Because, so, Good Dinosaur, when it came out, it was everywhere. There was ads on TV all the time.
BS. Yeah, so ever since, and I can't even remember the first place that I, like, heard anything about Coco, but this entire time, I mean literally up to this past week, I have been trying to figure out why Disney would make a movie that they don't want anyone to see. And I was trying to figure out if I was just imagining that the advertising for this film wasn't just, like, poor, but it was almost secretive. Like, they were like, by the way, we're making a movie. They're like, it was as if they really
It wasn't
didn't.
Anywhere.
It wasn't anywhere.
It's barely on TV. They only did 2 trailers. There's not that many, like, posters or anything
No,
anymore.
and Disney movies, like, there's entire campaigns for them. Like, they're everywhere. You can't get away from that. And when I tell you, I was telling my friend, like, what's today? Today's Friday. I was at school for a rehearsal on Wednesday, and my friend and I were walking, and I was like, oh, my friend and I are going to go see Coco on Friday or whatever. And then she was like, oh, is that movie? I just saw that ad for the first time today. Like, the movie's coming out, like, this was Wednesday. The movie's coming out tomorrow, and this person has never even seen any, like, is seeing this ad for the very first time. That's not how Disney rolls. Like, you are supposed to, like, understand that this is a movie coming out and everyone needs to be aware and ingrain it into your brain that you need to go and see this movie. Yeah. So why, and of course in my mind I'm like, racism. Yeah. Why would Disney make a movie that they don't want anyone to see?
Yeah, and that's the same feeling I had. I'm like, there's one of 2 options. 2, that for some reason they don't think they can sell a quote-unquote cultural film. Because honestly, thinking back to it, I don't even remember that much stuff for Princess and the Frog when it came out. And granted, that was forever ago. That's what
people told me. Yeah, when I had heard that too. And for me, being like a black person, this was on my radar. So like I knew that this was coming out, but I was also looking for this, like, in my lifetime, you know what I mean? So I knew about Princess and the Frog, but somebody years later was like, I don't remember that even being advertised, and I was like, maybe you're right, and maybe I was just looking for it.
Because you were reasonably excited.
Because I was like, this is what I've been, like, waiting for. Yeah, like, this is what my entire family's been waiting for. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, because that's huge.
It was. Like, I saw Princess and the Frog, like, in theaters when it came out with my grandparents who were, like, born in the 30s. Like that, when I think about that now, I was like, did they ever think in their lives that they would ever go to a movie and see a Disney princess that was black? Like, probably never. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, so that was, like, very important to us. But anyway, like, I don't think there was advertising for that as much. What about Moana? Like, was that something that I was looking for?
Like,
I guess.
But again, also, I was looking for it. So maybe, I don't remember.
I can't, yeah, it's a blur. I don't know.
I mean, so
all I remember is I was not looking for Frozen.
Yeah.
Like, and it was everywhere. And that was everywhere. And it was everywhere. So, like, yeah. What does all this mean? Like,
so, yeah, theory 1, Disney doesn't know how to sell let's just say not white stuff.
Right. Disney does not know how to sell people of color.
2, they've decided, because Good Dinosaur bombed, so maybe Disney is like, okay, new plan. New IPs, like new ideas, or things that aren't necessarily as merchandisable, we won't push as hard. Because, like, how many toys could you get from Good Dinosaur other than the main dinosaur? And, like, the kid.
That's it. Yeah, those are the 2 options.
And this movie, again, it's like, there's a lot of cool characters, but I can't imagine a kid really wanting an action
like a skeleton.
Figure.
Yeah, like, I don't know what you would really do with that. Like, maybe I can see like maybe like some costumes, like a guitar, but would that even be racist? Would that be racist? Yeah, if you dress up as like a mariachi. Yeah. Would that be borderline too much? That would be too much.
It's the same thing like the Maui costume. It's like you can't really do that. But then with Moana, you can have like all the toys, and you have the 2 comedy sidekick
and
characters.
Like the hooks and like
there's like a lot of stuff you can get.
Heart of Tafiti, like I see those all over the place.
Or like Cars and Finding Dory, there's all these colorful characters that sell. Maybe in their heads, they're like, all right, we have to spend like $100 million on marketing if we really want to go all in.
Right.
Are we going to make that back in terms of toys?
No.
Not just ticket sales, but toys. Because, again, Disney is a huge company where
right.
they have to be thinking about all these different tethers and, like,
are they going to
links.
make it back in toys, and are they prepared to alter their theme parks in one way or another?
Yeah.
And I don't think they are.
Yeah. Like, how are they going to work
next
this into
Halloween.
the park?
Wait, sidebar, look at this costume that my mom saw at the mall. She's a
like
my mom was at the mall, and she saw, this was back at Halloween, like a little girl dressed as Moana, and when I tell you she looks like, this is a perfect Halloween costume. Like,
that's so cute.
But anyway, I thought about that, and I'm going to show you that. Anyway.
Because even with Moana, there was, like, they started pushing their new Hawaiian resort on top
exactly,
of the movie. It's like, and then I'm like, man, if they didn't have that, would they be pushing this movie as hard?
No, maybe not.
But, and then option 3, they realize the movie's bad, and they're trying to hide it. And that was my biggest fear, because I'm like...
That they were like, we made a bad movie, but we have to follow through because we spent a lot of money on it.
So. It's the same thing with Good Dinosaur, where it's like, they went through so many different directors and so many different ideas. So I'm having, like, heart palpitations, because I'm like, what is wrong with this movie? But
there's got to be something wrong with it, like, because I swear they're really hiding this.
But, and the most infuriating thing about all of this now, I think, is, it's good.
That was what I was going to say. I was like, that answered no... Like, after seeing this movie, I just have more questions because it was amazing.
It's a wonderful, wonderful film.
So why don't they want anyone to see it?
Yeah.
And, I mean, this was a Disney movie that premiered yesterday, and the theater was, like, I want to say it was, like, 75% full. Like, when they're... Like, why would there be open seats in a movie theater for a Disney movie?
I know.
The day after it premieres. Like, I don't understand.
Well, I'm still hoping it makes a lot of money, because like we said, it's a beautiful film.
Yes.
It's gorgeously made.
Yes.
In terms of heart, it's probably my favorite Pixar film
oh my gosh.
in God knows how long.
Right.
Since what? Maybe Toy Story 3?
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, like, we were talking about how, like, every movie has, like, some sort of, like, punch moment where you're like, oh, there goes, like, my heart breaking. But, like, this movie was, like, full of those moments where you're like, I, like, am an emotional wreck right now. I can't handle this. This is too much.
Like, I think that's my biggest compliment for the film. Yeah, like...
It was
like,
touching.
Up has its opening. That's when you're breaking down to tears. Toy Story has the ending
gosh.
where you're broken into
where
tears.
It just rips you apart.
Whereas this is just...
It very gently, like, rips you apart.
It just has so many, like, genuine, like, mature, heartfelt moments. Simultaneously, because one of the things... And I love Inside Out, but at times it got a little too slapsticky, a little too into the comedy. Which, again, it's a kid's film, which is fine.
Right.
Like, it's still a great, beautiful film. But this film, it had a lot of those moments, but then we would just stop and have just a quiet moment. Very little music, no jokes, and you would just feel something. You'd be You'd be asked to empathize with these characters. You'd be asked to, like, feel for this situation, and you would.
Right.
I guess to quickly summarize the plot, like, just the big premise.
Right.
So there's a kid named Miguel, and he lives in a family of shoemakers who hate music.
Right.
His great-great-grandfather, right?
I think it was 2 times great-grandfather. They kind of frame him as being like this deadbeat dad sort of situation. He was a musician. He up and left to follow his music career. And now his great-great-grandmother / great-grandmother / grandmother are all mad at him. Well, mad at music because they think music was the thing that, like, tore their family apart. But anyway, his 2 times great-grandmother, the wife of the grandfather that left, decided to put her energy into making shoes and made a business that is now their family business of being shoemakers. And that's what they do. They're shoemakers. They don't do anything else. And they certainly don't listen to or play music.
Which is a problem because Miguel loves music.
Because they're in Mexico.
Also, they're in Mexico. So
like, how are you going to get away from music? Like,
yeah, it's a double whammy because they live in Mexico, and also Miguel looks up to...
Loves music.
Yeah,
and
he loves this guy, De La Cruz. Who
is like a pop star sensation.
Yeah,
one of
he's
those,
like a Mexican
legendary
soap star.
Yeah, he's like a Mexican, like, legendary singer. Like, you kind of frame him as if he's, like, this Elvis-ish character.
Like, he wears all white, he has a cool guitar, he dances,
he's got this, like, Rico Suave-ness about him. Yeah, he's in these, like, these black and white films. They keep showing all his films. And he has this catchphrase that Miguel is always saying to himself. What is it? Like, follow your destiny?
Seize the moment.
Seize your moment. Exactly. Yeah. Which is what Miguel wants to do.
Yeah. And
with this competition. Are we just going to tell, like, what?
Well, I was just going to say. I have one little more bit.
Okay.
So, complications arise when he convinces himself, like, because it seems pretty obvious, like, you know, we have this setup where he discovers that he thinks Dela Cruz is his great-grandfather.
Is the guy that left his family. Yeah.
Because he has a photo, and it's like, it looks kind of like him. He has the same guitar.
Right, yeah. It's like a portrait of this mystery man, but, like, the photo is ripped off. Like, they ripped the head off of this photo in anger. Somebody ripped that face off. So he doesn't know who the face is, and the picture is, like, folded in the frame, so the guitar is, like, out of the picture, too. But when he finds this picture, he accidentally breaks it. And he takes the picture out and unfolds it, and, like, the same guitar that's in this, like, memorial thing for Dela Cruz.
Is dead,
yeah,
which is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, because it's this triumphant moment of, like, him playing.
He's on this, like, Vegas stage, all these lights, all these dancers.
It's gorgeous,
he's
triumphant.
A superstar,
And then he gets crushed.
Then he dies,
He gets crushed by a bell.
By a bell, right.
And that's, I don't know, that's not spoilers, that's early in the movie.
I guess we're fine with that. Yeah, okay. Anyway, what were we even talking about?
But anyway, so tries to steal the guitar.
So he believes that that Dela Cruz is actually his ancestor, his two times great grandfather, the one that left, and so therefore it is his part of his destiny to be a musician because it must be in his blood somewhere. Yeah.
So he steals the guitar, which inadvertently sends him into the spirit world, where he discovers that all of our ancestors live in this huge, sprawling utopia.
Exactly.
And every Day of the Dead, assuming your family remembers you, or puts up your photo somewhere, you are allowed to come through and see them again. Mm-hmm. And he needs to get back before sunrise, or else he will be stuck there. Right, and that's sort of the spark that sets off the plot in motion.
Pretty much.
So...
Okay, so there's the plot.
Yeah, there's just
enough
a basic
of what
premise.
we want to tell you about the plot, even though I feel like we told you just a touch too much already. So, but yeah, we'll stop there for a plot.
Yeah.
So, thoughts. So, what I was thinking about this movie, honestly, what I loved about it, one of the, like, many things I loved about it, there was so much dignity in this movie, because Disney doesn't have, like, a really nice past of, like, portraying Mexican people.
Or any people.
Or anybody that's not, or actually everyone, yeah. So, for what I loved about it was that they gave these people, like, real humanity and did not, like, caricature them in any way or feed into any of the, like, stereotypes around Mexican people. Yeah. Like, we're just seeing people as they literally are in real life, like, doing their real life things, and, like, nothing about it was overdone, like, but they were just like beautiful people who had skills, and, like, it was very uplifting and just beautiful. Yeah. And another part that I also loved about it was how this whole family is being run by, like, really strong women, like, right out of the gate. Like, I mean, Miguel is telling his story, like, in the beginning of the movie, like, he is narrating, like, the backstory. And, like, I forget what he said, like, when he talked about after his great-great-grandfather left, he was like, but she didn't have time to wait for him, so she, this woman just, like, gets up and, like, goes about her business, and is, like, gonna run her whole family and run her whole business by herself, like, she didn't need no man, like, and I, like, love that. I was like, wow, like, he was like, he didn't have time to wait for him.
I was gonna say, in terms of, like, and one critique I've always had of Pixar is their entire narrative structure is a little too masculine focused. Like, most of their most famous stories are about men or men's problems. A single dad trying to raise his son after losing his daughter. Right. Mr. Incredible trying to prove to his son or his son and his daughter, that you can be special in a world that doesn't necessarily encourage you to be special. Right. Or even, like, in its most literal sense, Buzz and Woody are these two American archetypes of the macho, like, masculine, like an astronaut and a cowboy, fighting to be the surrogate dad of
exactly.
Whereas this film, it's probably one of their more gender neutral ones in the best way. Like,
I think so, yeah.
Because his grandmother and his great-grandmother, or his great-grandmother, his grandmother, and his great-great-grandma are three of the most fleshed out, interesting characters Pixar has ever made. Right. They have, not only are they strong and interesting, but they're allowed to be funny. Like, the grandma gets some incredible moments of physical comedy where her body contorts and moves around.
Exactly.
Like, the energy.
Like, not to, like give too much of a spoil, but there's sometimes, like, I've never seen a woman whip off her flip-flops so damn fast, like, to hit you with it. Like, they had a bunch of those, like, I will hit you with the sandal, like, really quick. Like, people were taking off their shoes to hit each other with, which was hilarious to me, because, like, Hispanic moms actually do that. Like, with shoes, that's actually real life. Like, you will get hit with a sandal real fast. Like,
like, his great-grandmother is, like, the emotional heart of the film. She's just God, so detailed. It's incredible how far they've come with CGI faces.
Right.
And her great-grandmother, who he meets in the afterlife, is just a like ball of energy.
She is, and she's in charge. Like, that's what I love about her. Like, she is dictating what this whole family, like, everybody in this family is following her call. Like, no matter what. Like,
she's just one of the most fleshed out, interesting. Like, she gets jokes,
and she gets a song.
She gets a song. She gets serious emotional moments.
Right.
She gets conflict, like, nuance.
She gets,
and
like,
conflicted
love.
emotions.
She gets love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, wow, they've come, like, this is a character, and and that's what frustrates me, that I don't think they're going to be able to merchandise this film that well, because it's like, she is one of the iconic Pixar characters for me now.
Right,
like, in the canon of Pixar characters, she's in the top, like, 6 or 7. So I love that, and I agree with you, where none of the jokes are ever at the expense of the culture or the people living in the culture.
Right.
Like, sometimes they'll make, like, little jokes about, like, food or, like...
Right. And I was worried because they show, which they didn't really... I don't know what the rating on this film was, but they did show a bit of, like, drinking. But, like, that is another stereotype that, like, Mexicans are, like, drunk people. But, like, they were drinking. But, like, even that, like, I thought they were going to go too far with that.
They never punch down.
No,
They never punch down at a culture.
Right.
It's always, like, they treat it on, like, the same level as us. And
exactly.
If we are going to laugh at it, we're all laughing at it in a well-meaning way together.
Right.
And that was cool. I mean, again, I would love to try to dive more into, like, the culture aspects of it, but unfortunately I don't really know that much about Day of the Dead. But...
Oh, you don't?
No.
You need to visit your local library,
okay.
Carter.
I was going to save this for the end, but so...
Well, let's talk about it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we like to say...
You can handle this.
Which...
I don't know how to approach this.
So, like, as any normal... Well, I think everyone should be staying in movie theaters. It actually makes me very upset when people just, like, get up as soon as a movie is over and, like, leave the theater. Like, as if there's nothing else to look at. Like, why not stay for the credits? The credits are, like... So, like, especially with Disney movies, like, the credits are, like, just as good as watching a movie. Like, the credits on Beauty and the Beast, I will never get over the credits. Like, I could watch that on a loop forever. But anyway, we stay for the credits. Because sometimes there's a little short at the end, like in Moana, like the
they do, like, a little
short.
joke bit.
So I thought maybe there would be a short. There was not a short at the end. Anywho, we stayed for the entire credit scene, which is something else I wanted to talk about. They actually hired Latina people to work on this movie.
I was gonna say, I was genuinely floored.
Like, when that list scrolled, there were actual Hispanic last names. Like, they actually asked Mexican people about their culture. Like,
I know, right?
I was like, what? And there was a whole section, like, just, like, there was a whole team of people, like, just, like, heritage historians that were, like, listed up there alone. But anyway, they're going through, like, the scrolling thing, and then you get to the end, like, they list all the songs or whatever, and then, like, Walt Disney Pictures, the Walt Disney Records, da-da-da-da-da. Let me tell you something. The very last line of this entire thing, right before the very end, like right before this is about to fade to black, it's really going to be over, the very last line, it's in like red ink up there, whatever, it says, "This film has represented the heritage and culture of indigenous peoples. For more information, visit your local library."
Like, this is like an Arthur short or
sorry,
something.
what? Yeah, like, that was really ballsy for me. Like, I was like, how many people are going to even see this, first of all, that, like, are going to watch to the end and actually notice that this says, visit your local library? But they straight up were like, if you still don't have a clue, like, you need to visit your local library. They are not giving any, they're like, we're done, we did our part. If you are still in the dark about any of this, you need to visit your local library. If you have any questions, you need to visit your local library because we have literally given you information about this culture. If you are still a bigot, you need to visit your local library. Like, they were just like, you need to go read a damn book. Like, that amazes me. Like,
yeah, no.
They went as far to say, go read a book. They were like, are you kidding? Like,
who reads books anymore?
Like, well, there's the fact that they're like, well, like, it's your fault if you don't understand that. Like, if you're not willing to understand, you need to go read a book. Like, I don't know. I was like, did I really see that? Did they really just say, go read a book? Like, oh my gosh, like, that was really bold. Like, what did you think of that?
I just thought it was funny.
It was hilarious. I was like, what?
As someone who grew up with Arthur, where it would always say, you can find Arthur books and plenty more books, too, at your local library. I'm like, oh, wow, is it the 1990s again? Jesus.
Oh my gosh, but just the fact that they are like, it's up to you to research cultures that you don't understand. We don't owe you an explanation. You need to find it on your own because it's possible. Go read a book.
That was so funny.
That had me cracking up. I was like, are you kidding? And then it was over. Like, that was the last thing they had to say. They were like, visit your local library. Like, just no. Like, that was it. That's all I had to say.
In terms of other notes, I adored the animation in this film in terms of, like, more and more, like, I feel like the early Pixar films tried to be really realistic in terms of how things moved, the physics behind things. Whereas later Pixar, like this, and Finding Dory to a certain extent, and Inside Out, they're like, no, these are cartoons. Let's make them... We can have them look believable and heartfelt, but let's have fun with their motion, because they can move around like we can't.
Right.
So you get these moments of high-speed energy, or like weird, slightly distorted body features, and it's just funny. Like, it just makes it fun and energetic. Especially when you're in the afterlife, where you have all these characters who are literally skeletons.
Yeah.
They play around with, like, the physics of not having skin or muscles.
Being able to take your head off.
Yeah.
And put it back on and be fine.
Yeah, like, there's a dance sequence with one of the characters, Hector, where he's, like, tapping, and then, like, at one point his head lands on his spine, or his head lands, like, around his waistline, or, like, he uses his arm to, like, as a bow and arrow. Like, it's, there's 6 or 7 moments in that film where I just shake my head and I'm just like, man, that's smart. Like, that's clever.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. I personally, like, I've always loved, like, vintage Mexican decor. Like, I don't know, like, I loved those colors, and I, like...
Yeah, it's
and that was just filled with things that I, like, love, so I really enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, and even... I don't know, even my complaints, like, I usually end up having 2 complaints with most of Pixar's films. One is... It always feels like there's one too many plot contrivances where it's like, we have to go do... You know, there's a simple goal, like... Gotta get back to Andy, or gotta go find this guy, or gotta get back to Central Headquarters. And, like, some coincidences or twist will occur that sets them back on that journey. And then the second one is always, like, especially whenever they do this secret world kind of thing, where it's like, the secret life of toys when you're not around, or the secret life inside your head, or...
Right, or the life of the dead.
Yeah,
like...
or the secret world of sentient cars. Like, I always get too caught up in the nitty-gritty of, like, well, how does this work? How does this part work? How does that part work? Does that really work the way they say it does?
Right.
But this film, much like the good Pixar films, are so good you don't care.
Right.
Like, Cars is a good example where the Cars films aren't great, so we do get caught up in, like, can't they just switch their body out? Or, like, switch their engine? Or, like, how do they procreate? How do they go to the bathroom?
So many questions.
Yeah. Why are the bugs also cars?
Why are the cows also tractors?
Yeah.
So many questions.
Because the film itself doesn't grab you enough to make you not think about those things.
Not care, like, just accept this universe as it is, like...
And this film is so good, you don't care because you just care about the emotions of the characters and you want everything to work out for them.
Right.
What did you think of Miguel?
I adored him right out of the gate. He is adorable, like, as a child. And to me, he, like, let alone, like, forget about, like, the cartooniness, like you said. He felt like a real kid to me.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't even know who his actor was, but he had this adorable child voice. And, like, just his movements and his face, like, he had this little baby face, but he was still, like, tall. And he kind of had these, like, tween teeth, like, you know how, like, those, like, Timmy Turner, like, 10-year-old teeth. But not as, like, not obviously, like, Timmy Turner, like, those big teeth. But, like, I mean, he felt like a child, and they gave him, like, slight, like, freckles and everything. Like, he just felt like such a genuine, like, good kid. Like, they were, like, he was really a good kid, like, when you thought about it. Because they had him talking to his great-grandmother who's, like, decrepit in this wheelchair, and, like, he, like, talks to her, like there's nothing wrong with her, like, he just has conversations with her, like, he tells her everything, like, like, they're best friends, and, like, and she never responds or anything, she can't really speak, and she's, like, losing her memory and everything, and she just kind of sits there, but, like, they're friends, like, that, I loved Miguel, I thought he was so cute.
Yeah, the funny thing is, in many ways, it's not his story, it's more about the family as a whole,
right, exactly,
learning to sort of fix this problem that's haunted them for so long.
Right.
And yet, he's the perfect character to do all this through, because he's so, like, earnest and heartfelt, and he wears his emotions on his sleeve.
Right.
And he serves as a great window to this entire world.
Yeah. And, the animal sidekick should be Dante.
The dog, Dante.
Which I'm trying to figure out, like, what kind of dog he really was. I mean, I don't know. He was, like, this hairless looking...
Gray.
He was, like, gray. And he had, like, this gross tongue that was, like, falling out of his mouth. I mean, he was supposed to be completely unintelligent, obviously. Yeah. But,
he's like Hey Hey or Olaf, where...
He was a Hey Hey, not... I mean, even Olaf served a lot of function. Yeah. But he was definitely more useful than a Hey Hey, because Hey Hey was not useful until, like, the very end of Moana. But, like, Dante actually, like... did like useful things throughout the movie. Like, Dante
there was
actually
a point
had
to
enough
having
sense.
Him there.
Yeah, there really was a point to keeping him
Which
around.
we won't spoil too much, but like, yeah, like, there's value to having him as a character.
Yeah, definitely,
which warmed me up to him a little bit.
Yeah. So, I didn't mind his presence there.
No. Mm-mm. Also, this film, I want a full Pixar musical now, because this film was close to being a musical in terms of how many songs there are. And all of the music was gorgeous.
It was, yeah.
The main song, Remember Me, is probably my favorite song that's ever been in a Pixar movie.
I think so, too. Just because I can't recall too many songs used in Pixar movies.
I can only think of
that are done by,
Toy
like,
Story
the
ones.
Characters, right? Like, the Sarah McLachlan songs. And, well, You've Got a Friend is a classic.
Yeah. To be honest, is there any other song that's actually sung by the characters?
In Pixar movies?
Yeah.
No.
Because they set themselves out to be the anti-Disney in that sense.
Exactly.
But now that they're leaning into Disney a little more, I think it paid off, because it's just gorgeous.
Yes, in Monsters, Inc., that song, I Wouldn't Have Nothing. I wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have... That is sung by Mike and Sully. Sing that. Not in the movie, but, like, during the credits, like, they actually sing that song.
Oh, yeah.
So, does that count? I don't know.
I suppose.
I guess it counts, sort of, but it wasn't part of the plot. It was just like a You Got a Friend, the remix. Like, it was kind of like, we're also friends, and, we sing the song. Like,
yeah. Honestly, I'm hard-pressed to think of negatives about the film, to be honest.
Actually, me too. I can't think of anything that I was like, dang, I kind of wish there was more of this. Like, I feel satisfied, and I really want to see it again.
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, I could complain that it has a similar problem to Moana, and I wish at times it would explore a space a little more. Like, we had to rush through all these cool different locales, and while they're all awesome, I'm also like, no, I want to see more of this.
Yeah. Because it was beautiful, like, through and through. I mean, like, they created these really cool places, and we didn't really stay in any of them
for very long.
Right.
It's a little better than Moana in that sense, because Moana was like, we have to go here, 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 and then here, whereas this is like, here, and then we slow down.
We're accidentally here, like...
Yeah. Which, like, and that's, I guess that's a general complaint I have about modern Disney and Pixar in general. Mm-hmm. Like, they feel the need to keep it to about 100 minutes. So in the process, some of the more, like, slow down, chill out moments get sacrificed.
Oh, okay.
This film, but even then, this film is, like, the best at, like, sort of alleviating that, because there are these moments where the action, the comedy just stops. There's a sequence in which they meet an older person in the afterlife who's sort of been forgotten, and it's just this quiet moment in the moonlight where they're just playing guitar together and singing, and it's just one of the most genuinely, like, calm and, like, just moody moments in a Pixar film. And it was so gorgeous. I also appreciate how mature a film it is in many ways. Like, yeah, there's a lot of jokes and, like, but there's not that much...
a lot of physical comedy,
yeah. But even then, it's, like, well thought out. It's not like dumb kid humor, like slip on a banana peel and hit your head.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, we have characters who can, like, contort their bodies in ways that aren't normal. Let's have fun with that.
Let's play with that a little, yeah.
Like, you know...
But there was a lot of sophistication.
Yeah.
Like,
there's, like, drinking. There's a lot of complicated themes about betrayal and, like, relationships between friends and family.
Right.
Some character, like we mentioned, a character straight up dies, and that's, like, on screen. And it's not played as, like, a laugh. It's just shown.
No, they die, yeah. Like, that was a straight up, like, you're not just supposed to understand that, like, oh, they're not here anymore. It's, like, you see someone die. Yeah. Yeah. And, like, there's an attempted murder? I don't know. Yeah. Is that going too far? Should we not give that away?
Every Pixar film has an attempted murder.
But even that was, like, we almost saw him
pretty
die.
Aggressive.
That was super aggressive. Like, they really held it out until, like, the last minute. They're like, oh, just kidding, he's saved, ta-da.
Like, and I guess that was inevitable.
But that was, like, really ballsy. Like, they took that really far.
And I guess that it's to be expected that there's going to be a level of, like, maturity when you're dealing with a holiday centered around the death of family members. But even then, I'm just like, wow, they're going there and they're committing. Yeah. Like, a few characters drink and it's not even remarked upon. It's just, well, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, we do this here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also liked it was...
someone dropped... I think someone said damn at some point. I'm like, whoa.
I don't remember that.
It was like it was like a really quick one, but...
Right. I don't know. I also thought it was really cute how, like, when Miguel was in, like, the dead universe, the people were, like, afraid of him as if they had seen, like, a ghost. Like, so, like, just how that was backwards, like, as if you had seen, like, a dead relative, like, in your house or something, like, the way you would react. Like, that's how everyone was reacting to him. Like he was, like, scaring people just by being, like, this living kid. Like, it was just very well done.
Yeah. And also the world felt really alive. Like...
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, there was, like, a lot of really... I mean, there was, like, politics...
Yeah,
like, going
and, like,
on.
The crowds, like, a lot of films, I was talking about this with someone over Batman v Superman, where it's like, there's so few people. Like, it's like, where are the crowds? Where are the groups? And it's like, every scene had this huge, like, all these people walking around doing their own thing. And, like, so every space felt lived in and, like, crowded and huge.
Right.
And just in general, that's a great thing about the film, I think, is... everything feels lived in. Like, we're not just... It's not like we're just turning on a movie and a story starts. It's like, there's already been a story for decades.
Exactly.
And we're just getting a small chapter.
Right. I also enjoy the fact that it was, like, not just, like, all these dead people are existing here, but, like, they're just carrying on as if they were still living. Like, these people... Like, just, like... I don't want to give away too much, but I mean, like, they just have these, like, festivals and performances. Like, these dead people, like, this is just a town of, like, normal people, like, living people, like, you would think. Just because, like, all of these people are, like, getting up every day. Like, you get the impression that they're, like, doing their lives. Like, just, like, normal. Like, you know what I mean? And this is just, like, a holiday, just like any other holiday for them, too. Like, so.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any other final thoughts?
No, just that it was... beautiful. Like, my other thoughts I have would totally be spoilers.
Yeah,
which we will continue with. But it was just beautiful, and I, like, really want to see it again, even though seeing it again would mean seeing Olaf's Frozen Adventure again, which I just don't feel like doing that again. But I do want to see this again, and I'll probably go see it in theaters again. It was so beautiful. I mean, I loved it, and now, like, I'll go look up the soundtrack. Like, I'm like itching to see all of this stuff again. It was just beautiful. It's something that I'll be like in the back of my mind, like until I see, you know what I mean? Like when like
Yeah.
a Disney movie like is like stuck in your head and you're like, oh, that was great. Like,
yeah,
I just loved it. I loved it, and I wished more people had known about it.
Yeah.
I wish more people knew about it. I wish more people would go see it, like, because it was beautiful.
Yeah, it really is, like, I was sort of getting tired with Pixar because it was like Finding Dory and Good Dinosaur and Cars 3. And then, you know, they just make another film that's genuine and heartfelt.
Right.
And real and visceral and, like, mature. And I'm just like, God damn, you did it again.
Right, yeah, here I am again. Oh, should we mention Incredibles 2?
Oh, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
But,
there's that.
yeah. Speaking of other upcoming sequels.
Right.
But, we're gonna take a quick break and then get into spoiler chat. Alright, so now we're into spoiler talk, where we can talk about specific plot moments, specific moments we found interesting, talk about how Miguel was a Horcrux the whole time, and he needed to let Voldemort kill him to beat him, that sort of thing. So, do you have anywhere you want to specifically start?
Why not start at the beginning? I don't see anything wrong with that. We can go through that quickly. So, the movie begins with Miguel narrating the history of his family. It actually ends up, Miguel is, like, shining someone's shoes. He's at this, what was that place called? It was, like, Plaza de la Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there, Ernesto de la Cruz is, like, this superstar, Mexican Elvis, if you will. But, they have, like, this entire plaza, like, where bands come and perform. First of all, can we talk about how, even before this movie begins, the When You Wish Upon a Star intro is played by a mariachi band.
Which I'm like...
I was like, I'm here for it. Oh my god. That was so beautiful. Like, I was like, I wonder how they're gonna alter the castle for this. But, like, they didn't even alter the castle. Like, they just, like, played the castle like they usually do. And they just had the song played, like, by mariachi. It was beautiful. I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is all I really wanted. Maybe they changed the fireworks in it. I don't know. Maybe they, like, made the more colorful. We'll have to go back.
I will say, in terms of, in addition on the intro, we get told most of the backstory is shown through these paper cutouts.
Oh, yeah.
Like these little things.
These little, like, fabric. They look like doilies, but have you ever seen, like, those, like, colorful doilies that are, like, hanging up and they have, like, patterns cut into them or whatever? But it's, like, the story is illustrated through these, like, doilies that are, like, cut into, like, shapes of, like, the characters and everything. And
it
like
immediately sells you on the film because it's
pretty much,
so
it was beautiful. Yeah. So anyway, Miguel is telling his story. He's really shining someone's shoes, but he's, like, talking about his life story. And he starts by describing how his 2 times great-grandparents, how they were married and, like, ta-da, they had a happy family. And their child is his great-grandmother, which is Coco. Her name is Coco. And how his great-grandfather, who decided he wanted to follow his music career and up and left them to go follow his music career or whatever. And how his wife, who he left behind as his child, she was on militant, so she decided that she didn't need him anyway, and she was going to start her own business making shoes, which is, like, my favorite part of the movie, where I still can't get over, he was like, but she didn't have time to wait for him, so she just started. I was like, okay, that's, like, one of my favorite parts. I'm like, none of these women need these men anyway. She was like, whatever, here we go, like, I'm just going to make my own business, like, so anyway, she starts a shoemaking business, and that's what their family does, they're shoemakers. But they're, like, super resentful about music because that is what they believe tore their family apart, or is like, the, you know, the ingredient in all of their hardship. It's their curse, is the music or whatever, because that is what drove his father away from their family. So anyway, he's telling the story, and then he tells a story about his great-grandmother, Coco, she's in a wheelchair, she's decrepit.
It's important to remember that name.
Yeah, don't forget, you know. Yeah, Coco is important here. Anyway, her name is Coco, and she's like this old, decrepit woman. She's in this wheelchair. She doesn't speak very much. She speaks at the end.
Yeah.
But,
Which,
like...
I was just amazed. That's one thing that really impressed me, that they leaned into that. They've never really had an elderly character like that before.
Yeah.
Where you, like... It creates this, like, visceral feeling of just, like, feeling bad for this person who, like, life has kind of abandoned.
Exactly. But that's what, like, it was one of my favorite moments between Miguel and her. This is just like Moana. Oh my god, I realized that, like, my favorite parts of Moana are with Tala.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite part of Moana is when Moana and Tala are, like, dancing on the beach in Where You Are.
Yeah.
And, like, they just have that transition and, like, they're older. Like, I don't know why, like, that transition right there, like, just the idea that they've been on this beach, like, for years doing this dance, like, touches me so. But anyway, like, he talks about how he, like, loves spending time with his great-grandma Coco. And even though she's just, like, sitting there, like, you can tell that she still, like, loves his presence and, like, needs somebody to talk to, and that this child, like, this little boy wants to, like, be around her and, like, tell her stories and talk to her. So, anyway, yeah, he's, like, telling his story or whatever, but then it cuts and he's, like, shining someone's shoes and he's, like, telling his customer about his life. And his customer's like, please stop talking to me, like, child. Leave me alone, I did not pay for this. Yeah.
He's like, if you care about music so much, why don't you enter this competition? There's a performance, there's a sort of Battle of the Bands, Day of the Dead talent show. And Coco wants to enter it.
No, Miguel.
Miguel wants to enter it.
Right.
So, and this becomes a problem. He kind of tries to hint at it, but they're like, no, you can't do that, Miguel. You don't have any talent. And
they really laughed. They actually literally were like, that's hilarious. You're not going to do that. We don't do music here at all.
Yeah, and that leads to a moment
That's when his abuelita takes her flip-flop off and, like, beats him over the head with it, literally. Like, that was one of my favorite parts, where she literally tosses this flip-flop up in the air and catches it midair. Oh my gosh, that was funny.
And that leads us to this revelatory... Well, we establish after that he's really into Ernesto de la Cruz.
Yeah, he builds this, like, little sanctuary, like, in, like, an attic type thing.
Yeah. Who, let me just say, might be my favorite Pixar character ever. Like...
Ernesto de la Cruz?
Yeah. Like, I just like the whole... Well, I like him for a lot of reasons. One, I like his voice. I think he has a really cool voice.
Yeah,
I think he has a really cool presence. Yeah, he's, like, super suave. Mm-hmm. Even later in the film, which we'll get to in a second.
Right.
Like, I'm still like, man, but I really want to like you.
I know. Yeah, that is the worst part. Yeah, he ends up being the bad guy here.
Yeah, I guess we're in spoilers. So
he's the bad guy, yeah.
We'll explain how that works in a minute. But, yeah, like, I like that. I also like that he adds this sense of depth and scope to the universe where... There's this whole lore behind him. There's all these shows and movies he's in. Like, I love any film that does sort of, like, story within story stuff.
Right.
So having that to call on is great. I love his, like, all the songs he does are great.
Yeah.
And I like how he's just become such a presence in the afterlife where he has, like, all this stuff.
He's still a big celebrity, like, and has, like, a palace sort of thing, I don't know, and hosts this like grand party that there's like a red carpet to get into and like security. Like, he's a fish,
and also
in the afterlife.
Yeah, he also sets up an interesting aspect of, so whether or not you can leave the afterlife during the Day of the Dead, whether or not you can get access to the human world again, is whether or not you have pictures of you left behind.
If your
like,
family
framed.
Like remembers you fondly.
Yeah.
So, and pretty much that is They claim that, like, the key to this has to do with, like, this mantle that families have, which you see in a lot of homes anyway, but, like, that you would have pictures. But there was this, like, room devoted to just, like, pictures of the elders and ancestors that have, like, died, and, like, all these candles, and this is supposed to be, like, a kind of a sacred, I guess, if you will, like, place, but apparently, like, every family has one. Mm-hmm. But if And it kind of has to do with the song Remember Me, because it was like, if your family didn't have any photos of you,
you can't leave.
Yeah, like, that must mean that they don't remember you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess that makes sense, like, if they took their pictures down, if they took your pictures down, they must not remember you, so.
Yeah. And the advantage Cruz has is because he's a big celebrity, all these people have pictures
Everybody
of him.
remembers him,
so
there's an entire, like...
Yeah, he'll never have to worry about
Like I said, the
this.
Plaza de la Cruz is pretty much his, like, he's got a whole shrine about him.
He gets all these incredible things because people leave him behind gifts and stuff.
Right.
Like, most people just have their family leaving behind food and items.
Yeah.
Whereas he has, like, entire country worth of, like, gifts and stuff.
And that's what people were coming back over the bridge to get from, like, the real world.
Yeah, basically.
Or all of those things that they left. They were, like, actually retrieving all that stuff and taking it back with them, so.
And so Miguel's family has this shrine, except for their
There was a name for it. I don't remember what it was called.
I know. I wish I remembered. Except for his great-great-grandfather, whose picture's been cut out.
Been torn in the face, yeah.
Which, because we established that he thinks his father, or great-great-grandfather, is Ernesto de la Cruz, it shouldn't matter because all these other people have pictures of him. So once he gets to the spirit world, this is sort of what the crux of the film ends up becoming. So he wants to go back, which is actually not that difficult.
Yeah, he accidentally falls into the spirit world. So he breaks into the shrine because his abuelita broke his guitar. They caught him.
A new one.
They caught him playing it. She smashes his guitar. And then he's like,
which is a genuinely, like, jarring moment. Like,
yeah, it was
Pixar's
violent.
done a couple moments like that, but this one in particular...
that one was, like, just mean,
Yeah. Where she smashes it twice.
Yeah, no, she was like, this is done, yeah.
And then she's, like, still smiling, like,
she was like, we're about it, yeah. And then he starts crying, and then she's like, oh, come here, baby. And then
like, of all of the...
he's like, no.
Yeah, like I said, Disney does a lot of those moments, but,
right. So
like,
he
this
runs
one in
away.
particular was visceral.
Right. Well, anyway, he wanted to play because he's trying to get into... He's trying to perform at Plaza de la Cruz for this performance for, what is it called? Dia de los Muertos.
Talent show.
Yeah, exactly. It was a talent show. He was trying to get into that. I mean, that was, like, the basis of all this thing. He wanted to perform. So he needs a guitar, and he goes to the festival, and, like, no one is willing to lend their guitar. I mean, everybody's got a guitar. I mean, like, this movie could have just been over if someone was like, oh, you want to perform? Yeah, sure, here's a guitar.
Yeah.
He was trying to sign up, didn't have an instrument, and no one would lend their guitar to him, so he was like, I know, I'll steal an historical relic from...
like, Ernesto de la Cruz's
guitar, like, from his shrine. I'll break into it, take that guitar... And, so the key to getting back and forth between the dead world and the human world is, like, through these flower petals. Like, there's these flowers everywhere, and these flower petals, and what his mom was explaining how, like, you have to make a pathway for them
which is personified as this gorgeous bridge.
Right, these gorgeous bridges that just made of these flower petals, but they were, like, sprinkling the flower petals in these paths. So, anyway, someone made a flower, because it's the holiday... made this, like, flower petal path between, like, the guitar and, like, to the door of this, like, building that he was in.
So when he
picks up the guitar and plays it, like, it ignites, like, all these flower petals come up, and he accidentally, like, falls through it. So, like, now he's part of the world, and then, like, someone realizes that the guitar is missing, so, like, they... unlock the key and they're like in there, and then he like tries to like
he realizes that he's not corporeal anymore.
Exactly. He's like, I'm sorry. Like he puts the guitar down, and they're like,
sequence.
No one's in here. Like they didn't see him at all.
Which, even though that sequence was spoiled in the trailers, still really good.
Yeah.
Like, I think a sign of a good movie is even the parts you know that are coming are still entertaining and like well thought out.
Yeah.
Like just that whole sequence, and then he finally gets help from someone who's a skeleton. So eventually he bumps into some family members, which I love how they do that. Whenever he finds someone, he's like, wait a minute, and then we see their portrait.
Their portrait,
which I'm like, that's a nice, simple way of doing
because
that.
they still look like themselves, just in skeleton.
Yeah, just they don't have skin anymore.
I love about that is that they know exactly who he is. Like, he doesn't even need to introduce himself. They're like, Miguel?
Again, that adds to, like, how rich the world is, because it's like, they've come back and forth hundreds and hundreds of times
Exactly.
already.
And, like, it makes you believe that, like, your relatives that have passed on, like, know you. Yeah. Even if you've never met them, like, at all. I mean, like, this is your 2 times great grandmother, and she knows exactly who you are. So, like,
it really is those little things that make this feel so, like, rich of a movie.
Right.
And anyway, so they bring him back. And honestly, the plan is actually pretty simple. All they have to do is take one of these flowers, give it their blessing, which causes it to glow, and then
one of his family members has to give the blessing so that he can be put back.
And then he just gets teleported right back, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
The problem is, though, his great-great-grandmother's pretty pissed off.
Pissed, yeah, because her husband is the one who left for the music anyway.
Yeah, and on top of that, she can't get through this year because he still has her picture.
Oh, that's right, we forgot. She's trying to get through customs, too.
Yeah, so,
because,
like, the whole structure works. They have, like, a border customs thing where you have to, like, get scanned, and they'll see if you have a picture somewhere.
Yeah, like, they scan your face, and then they see if your picture is up somewhere. And that is how one of the main characters, Hector, isn't getting through, which we'll get to later. His picture, no one has a picture of him, so his people have forgotten about him.
Yeah.
So apparently he can't get back. But, his great-great-grandmother, her picture has been taken because Miguel, like, when he's in the room, he's in, like, their shrine room, like, I forget, man, I wish I knew the name of that. There's a picture of her and Coco, which is her daughter,
and their
father, whose picture was torn out anyway. Yeah. But when he's in there, he, like, makes a mess, and he broke the picture and had it in his pocket. So, like, he took the picture out of their shrine. So that's why she couldn't get back, too. So he meets all his family members, and they're like, oh, we're trying to get back, but we're waiting for, what's her name? I forget what her name was. But she's stuck in customs because her picture is missing somewhere. And
yeah. So her stipulation is, you can go back, but you are to never play music again.
Right, so because I think he explains to her, like, he needs to get back to play in this thing, and then she's like, wait, what, music?
Yeah,
oh, no, that's not what we're going to do here.
And this is one of the best jokes in the entire movie. So he gets sent back, and it's like, oh, that's basically the end of the movie, isn't it? He goes to grab the guitar again, and he gets teleported right back, and it's like, 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's like, good, I'm here. Right, yeah, he immediately, like, broke that rule. So then he lands back there, and they're like, are you kidding? Like, you could not, like...
So that basically sets up our main conflict, where he needs to get back before sunrise, or he'll be stuck there forever. But he can't just get teleported by them, because then he'll have to give up music.
Right, or he'll be right back.
Yeah. So he is convinced, I need to get Ernesto to give me his blessing, because he'll let me do music. And that's how we're introduced to...
Also... all of this stuff has to happen before sunrise, and he's slowly turning into a skeleton himself.
Which, I like how subtle that is throughout. Like, they only point it out once when you see his finger, and then for the rest of the movie, it just happens.
Right,
they don't
exactly.
Draw attention to it.
Right. Yeah, it's not like an obnoxious, like, oh, let's stop what we're doing to look at him
let's
slowly
have a ticking let's keep reminding you
like
of the
Beauty
ticking
and
clock.
the Beast. Yeah.
Where it's like, look, we're not dumb. If you tell us this rule, we know it's a factor.
Right.
So that introduces us to our other main character, Hector. He hasn't been able to get through for a while now because no one remembers him. He doesn't have any pictures. And when he meets Miguel, he's like, oh, how about I cut you a deal, kid? You take this photo, put it up in your room.
Yeah, he's like, I know Ernesto de la Cruz. I can take you right to him.
Which, they make it seem like it's like he's lying, but as you progress in the film, it turns out, no, he actually does know him. Mm-hmm. So that leads us through a series of hijinks. We're introduced to the concept of, like, spirit animals. Right. Because his great-great-grandmother has a freaking combination puma with wings.
Right, with, like, these, like, ram horns, like, on his head. I mean, this thing, and all these spirit animals are, like, rainbow, majestic colors that, like, change colors and everything. And that's the popcorn you're hearing, sorry. We're still, like, we just saw the movie, as we said. But yeah, these animals are like, there's these little monkeys and these little, like, beetle things. Like, these animals are just, like, crazy colors, but they're supposed to be these, like, guardian protective, like, spirit animals. And that is where Dante comes in, because
you discover
he ends up turning into, like, the longer he stays there. he just gets transformed into a spirit animal as well.
Because he, like, helped Miguel out in a time of need, so he gets gifted powers.
Right, so he gets to be Technicolor and everything, and they put these little rinky-dink wings on him and everything. Yeah. And that's why we said that he ended up being a really useful animal, even though they kind of present him in this, like, really stupid, like, dopey light.
As a dope.
Right, he ends up being super-duper helpful.
This leads us basically to one of my favorite scenes, and I talked about it a little bit. So, and you ran to the bathroom during the beginning of the scene.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So they need to still get a guitar, because basically they're like, oh, we'll get into Ernesto's big party by winning a talent show. Yeah. So they go into this sort of like slumish area. Like, it's like all wooden and built up. It's not like the gorgeous colors and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is where all the people who have been forgotten are. Oh. This is the people who can't get through, who don't really have family members who remember them.
Yeah, I got it.
And they all refer to themselves as, like, you know, brother, sister, grandma.
Right, because they've created their own family there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we find this guy who has a guitar. He's by himself. He's been stuck here for God knows how long. And he's, like, sickly. And we discover he's like, I don't have much time left.
Right. They present that idea that you're, like, going to just, like, disappear forever as being, like, physically ill. Which ends up happening to Hector eventually, as he's being forgotten because he can't get across because no one has a picture of him.
That's where we get our second ticking
like, physically, clock. Like, jolts. Like, so it's, like, being, like, as if these dead people are physically ill and dying. Yeah.
Like, basically, that's our second ticking clock. Right. There's the sunset and the fear that once everyone on Earth fails to remember you, you disappear. You turn into dust and
that,
fly
like,
away.
Your dead presence is irrelevant now.
And that's what's happening with Hector.
Right.
And we see this personified through this older man who's like, can you just play a song on the guitar? And
this is my last leg,
Hector plays this gorgeous song. It's this really quiet moment. The moonlight's coming through, and the guy just smiles as he turns into dust. And then Miguel picks up a drink, finishes it, and then puts it down. And honestly, it might be one of my favorite moments in Pixar. Hector?
Hector, yeah, Miguel's a child.
Oh, right.
God. This is one of those other alcohol moments, but yeah, they like have these two like shot glasses there, and like Hector, you know, takes a drink for him, and then but it was so touching and beautiful. I came in at like the end of this moment.
Because it's like I understand, like, in terms of plot, it has a very specific reason, because you need to explain this idea and you need to show the
understand why it's like important that this happens, you know.
But even though it's a plot device, they commit to making it the most emotional, thoughtful, like, all of this kinetic energy we've been building up with this wacky skeleton character just gets stopped, and we have a moment of, like, genuine
he's a real person.
Humanity.
Yeah.
Where these were real people who have real, like, attachments and stakes and
feelings also. Even though they're dead, like, they still want to be living in some realm, you know?
And this is also where we realize that we weren't really Hector wasn't really BSing when he was like, oh, I know Ernesto de la Cruz. It's like, oh, no, he's an actual musician,
he's not just, like, saying that, like, he's a musician.
And he explains, like, he's like, I taught Ernesto everything he knows. He wouldn't be anything without me.
Which also sounds like BS. But it's actually also totally true.
It sets up the big twist that we're building up to.
Right.
So then we have Miguel performs for the first time in this talent show.
Right. Oh wait, are we forgetting? We're forgetting when we get introduced to. They straight up introduce Frida Kahlo.
Oh,
as a character. Like, not even like we're just like, oh, it's Frida Kahlo. Like Frida Kahlo.
Which again, it's like. The best Pixar films, when they do this, like, secret world stuff, they think through every possible implication of their universe and commit to it. Where it's like, of course there would be an actual celebrity here.
Also, first of all, like, this was a joke that I thought was really hilarious. Like, when we're at the gate of like the dead world, I don't know what to call it, but like, and they're like, Hector is trying to get through the gate, and he keeps putting on disguises, and one of his disguises includes like. He's kind of, I don't know if he's purposely dressed as Frida Kahlo, but like, when they arrest him, when they arrest him, they're like stating like what he did. They're like lying to somebody, and one of those things was falsifying a unibrow, and he was like, "Is that illegal?"
A really big crime.
And he was like, "Yes, very illegal." And then it made sense later when like actually Frida Kahlo was there, and it was like that's illegal to falsify a unibrow because like the only person who has a unibrow here is Frida Kahlo, clearly. Like so you're not allowed to pretend that you have a unibrow. I just thought that joke like that came to me later. I was like, no way, like that was really funny actually. But they straight up have Frida Kahlo,
which was brilliant. To the point, and I like that because it's like, you can only do one of those. Because if you had more cameos, it would have been distracting.
No, like, okay, this is too much.
Here's one, it's going to be really funny, and people are going to love it. I really like that.
But, yeah, anyway, Hector, like, we meet Frida Kahlo because Hector takes Miguel to the studio where Ernesto de la Cruz is about to perform for the night.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, he's rehearsing here. But then there are all these people, like these dancers, and they're doing these rehearsals to get ready for the show. And Frida Kahlo is like organizing this Frida Kahlo show.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be like the, opening
They're like
act.
Climbing out of an avocado.
Yeah, it's absurd. And then she's like, it's me. And all of these me's will come out and they will become me again. And then it will cry.
From the
cactus, the papyrus.
But it'll be tears.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Is that too much?" But it's like it's Frida Kahlo. Like that's crazy because it's like, what do we even know about Frida Kahlo that's beyond like quotes? It's like, what kind of personality would she have really had? And like, would it have been this
eccentric.
Exactly? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, would she have been this like dramatic person? But it was just like there was just something else to play with in your mind. Like what? Like she probably totally was like that. Who knows?
We also in this section, we find out more about Hector. He gets made fun of by a lot of the musicians because they're like, you choked on chorizo and that's what killed you. And he's like, no, it was food poisoning.
Right.
And, another piece of the building blocks that we're building up to.
Exactly, yeah.
So Hector and Miguel get split up because they kind of get into an argument.
After that, okay, so this is important. This is where the talent show comes in. So, they finally make it to the talent show, and because he's still a human boy, like a living boy, that's still a problem. Like, as I said, people are afraid of him. So Hector does his face up. They put, it looked like shoe polish, honestly, when he was putting it on his face. But anyway, he paints a little skeleton on his face, and, I guess that's good enough. Like, I guess they believed that he was, not, just because he had his hood up, so they were like, oh, yeah, that's totally a dead boy. But, he enters the performance, and he kind of, I guess that's his first official performance, and he gets stage fright and everything, and they end up singing together as a duet, and it was so beautiful or whatever. It was just cute. So it was adorable, but it was hard, they bonded as friends now, so
yeah. I mean, in terms of structure, this film is pretty darn flawless in terms of all the cinematic beats you need work.
Yeah.
And then they're also well executed, so you actually feel them.
Right.
They end up getting split up because I have an argument because Miguel's like, you're only in this for yourself. You just want me to put up your picture so you can get a free pass.
Pretty much.
And Hector finds out that no, Miguel does have family here.
Yeah, because they're still looking for him. So they have this raid out where they're the host of the show. She's like, attention, we're looking for a living boy. Yeah. And then he's like, oh crap, that's my family. So his family is actually
Hector's pissed because in his head he's like, I have to get this kid to Ernesto because
that's his only family member. But obviously he wouldn't even be in this realm if he didn't have family, would he? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
maybe.
My thing.
Yeah. So.
So eventually, Miguel finally does get to
Ernesto de la Cruz.
Yeah,
because he's having this lavish party up in this tower or whatever. And so he makes it up to the tower somehow, and he's gotta get in there. So that competition was to get that. The reason they entered that competition was because the winner got to go to the party that Ernesto de la Cruz was hosting. But he did such a good job, and everyone gave him a standing ovation. So he makes friends with the band who actually won, and they sneak him in to the party.
And then we finally meet Ernesto de la Cruz. And again, this is another moment. It's God, I want to like this character so much.
Yeah.
So to get his attention, Miguel ends up playing one of his songs as So at this party, he has all these different projections of its movies going on.
Right.
So he starts recreating
Which is weird, by the way. Isn't that a little odd?
It is, but I would believe it based on what we've seen of this character.
I would
he's a little bit full of himself.
Right.
And a little bit celebrity obsessed. So he's performing, but he doesn't really pay attention, so he falls into the pool.
Into a pool, yeah, and nearly drowned.
Ernesto literally just immediately runs
dives
in,
like Superman,
dives like a superhero, brings him out, and so he's like, "I'm your great-great-grandson," and he's like, "Oh my God, really?" And it leads to this really fun montage where he's just introducing everyone to Miguel.
Yeah, he's walking around like, this is my great-great-grandson. Like, he's all proud of him now.
Great character moment where you're like, yeah.
But when I thought about this later, like, which I talked about previously, that his family members knew him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why did... Like, is it... Like, I can't think of a reason that Ernesto de la Cruz would not recognize...
That's when they tip their hat. The idea that he's completely shocked that he has a grandson.
That he has a grandson or family at all, like, is like, why didn't you know that? Like, or are you just so obsessed with yourself that you're the only dead person that on this Day of the Dead you do not go visit anybody? And then people come to you. Like, is that what this is about?
Yeah.
Or like, you know?
So essentially, this is where all the building blocks to our big twist, 2 big twists come in.
Right.
And
also,
honestly,
Ernesto de la Cruz is like relatively young for a dead person because he died at he gets crushed by a bell.
Career,
Right, yeah. So he's not like this like old, you know, everyone looks, I guess, kind of like the age that they died at. I guess they're supposed to be. I guess I don't know. But so it also isn't alarming to anybody that like this little boy is dead. Like that would be alarming to me. That like
that'd be upsetting.
Even that would be upsetting
like
to
at
me.
that
I'd
point
be like, you're a child.
Like, I feel like
died.
if you've been in that world enough, you
that,
sort
like,
of just mentally
death would just be like, oh, you're here. Like this is another life
yeah.
anyway, so it's not something to really be sad about.
Yeah.
Like this is another life.
So here we go, big twist time. So, and I guess you could kind of see it coming because you're like, it seems like this movie is wrapping up really quickly and without hassle. So Ernesto gets a flower. He's like, all right, I guess I'll have to send you off.
Right.
But then Hector shows up and is like...
And is mad.
Yeah, he's like... so we reveal that him and Ernesto used to be partners.
Right.
And after Hector died, Ernesto kept on performing.
That Hector wrote all of his music.
Not only that he completely went on, but also kind of took credit for all of his work.
Like took all the songs that Hector wrote and did not give him credit. And so he's like, this is all your fault because people would remember me if you had even mentioned me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to be struggling to be alive right now, like in this.
Yeah. And then he's like, look, at least you can redeem yourself now. I'm going to give Miguel this picture, have him go back and like put it up so at least I get my fair share too.
Right. But like too much about Ernesto is revealed.
Yeah.
And so he puts a wrench in things. Well, anyway, it's revealed that not only did Hector like just die when they said that it was food poisoning, he was like poisoned.
Yeah.
Like Ernesto de la Cruz actually murdered him.
Yeah. This is the one thing I didn't quite like about the movie. I felt like the revelation was a little contrived of like one of Ernesto's movies has this moment where 2 characters are like, you're my best friend, I would do anything for you.
Go to the ends of the earth. Like there's like a specific quote that he used.
Yeah. And then they both drink a shot and Ernesto was like, it's poison, and then fights the guy.
Right, yeah.
And Miguel points out how similar this moment is to what happened the last time Hector and Ernesto were together.
And they took that drink together.
Yeah, and
so then Hector kind of puts the pieces together. Like, oh wait, you poisoned me.
Yeah.
Like,
so Hector was getting ready to finally go home and spend time with his family.
That he abandoned.
He was giving up on his music career.
Yeah, to go back to his child and wife.
Yes, his child and wife. That's important.
Mm-hmm. His child, Coco. His child, by the way, is Coco.
Oh wow! Oh, we blew the twist. All right. Well, we'll get to it. But
we should. Oh wait, I did totally blow the twist. Dang it! I spoiled the spoiler. Okay.
But I mean, again, it's a little contrived, but the actual scene ends up working really well, where we see them together arguing, and Ernesto pours the shots.
And then he like suddenly gets a change of heart. Like Ernesto's like, "Oh, you're right. You know, I support you in this decision to leave me
and then
go
they're
back
like walking
to your
out on the
family."
street.
Yeah, so he pours a shot, and like he's got his luggage, and they're walking down the street.
Grabs his chest, and Ernesto goes, "Maybe it was the chorizo you ate." And then he collapses. And I'm like, wow, that's actually a well-executed
He died right there.
And then he steals his notebook, which has the last couple songs he wrote.
Yeah. And so
now Ernesto's
it's revealed that Ernesto was actually a murderer.
Who stole all the credit.
And then, and Ernesto uses his rich man power to call security on Hector, and now it's just Ernesto and Miguel talking, and then he's like, oh, like, as casually as you can be.
True.
And then Miguel's trying to play it off like, no, I didn't, think you were a murderer. And Miguel pretty much is like, I know everything. Like,
it's very clear Miguel's not going to let this go.
Exactly,
so
but he's trying to pretend that he's, like, chill about it, but then Ernesto realizes, like, this kid knows everything about me and could ruin my life.
I need to completely, I need to cover up all my tracks.
Yeah, I need to get rid of this kid.
So they throw Hector and Miguel into this giant cavern where they're together. And they have this heartfelt moment where it's like, I'm sorry I failed you, and I'm sorry I failed you. And then Hector talks about that he wrote the song Remember Me for his kid. And then he says, all I wanted was one opportunity to go back and say I'm sorry and apologize and make sure she knew I loved her. And then he goes, my Coco. And that's when the final axe drops. And, this is the thing I go back and forth on. On one hand, they play their hand a little too much. Mm-hmm. Like, throughout the movie, they play the pronoun game with Miguel's great-great-grandfather. Where it's like, he did this, he did that.
Without mentioning any names or really giving identity to this.
Yeah, they never set up an identity. And then when they talk about, when they set up that Hector was alongside Ernesto for, like, the whole thing, I'm like, And they talk about that he has a family that forgot him. Like, when you think about it, the pieces are kind of obvious. Yeah. But at the same time, they're all well executed. Like, it's a well executed twist. Right. And for a younger kid, that's going to blow their minds.
Right, yeah.
Like, I feel like there is a detachment we need to remember where these are kids' films.
Right.
First and foremost. Yeah. As much as we love them. And in that sense, I think it's a big victory.
I was pleased with it. So, okay, so how was this revealed again? So, like, doesn't he pull out the same photo? Does he pull out the same picture?
Well, he finally pulls out the photo, and then he goes, oh, how do you have this photo?
Right. Or he realizes that that's his wife, and...
Yeah. And then one of the most gorgeous moments of the film, he's playing Remember Me Again, and we see it from the perspective of Coco back when they were kids.
Was when she's a child. Yeah, so it's like this black and white, kind of like old-timey looking sepia scene where he's playing guitar again to this child who's supposed to be Coco. Which I mentioned this earlier that like as far as designing people goes, everything was beautiful except for the way they make babies. It seems like they have like one stock baby that they made, because like this Coco baby looks exactly like Moana as a baby, like identical. Like they didn't even try hard. Like this is just like they have a stock baby. Yeah, I'm like they can do any they just look like. I mean, everybody knows what like Disney people look like or like Pixar people look like, but like in Moana and even in this movie, like people are looking more and more genuine and unique. Yeah. But then I was like, this baby just looks like all the other babies. Like they just didn't even try to make this look like a person. Like it just looked exactly like Moana. I was like, they just have a stock baby somewhere that they're like,
we don't have
pull
time.
Out the baby.
Yeah.
Like
we don't have time to draw babies. So let's just
let's just use the baby that we have. So anyway, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I don't know. It was a well-executed twist. That scene where he's just playing guitar is gorgeous. Right. And just in general, I think that's a great way of sort of solving Miguel's arc. Because, like, for a little while, I'm like, he doesn't really have an arc because he wants something in the beginning and he gets it. Right. But all of his, like, growth, like, his arc is his family's arc. Sort of, like, really diving into what his family was, what they were, and making peace with that, with what their family is. Mm-hmm. And just that revelation of who his father really, or great-great-grandfather really was.
A musician, like.
Yeah, a musician, but not this, like...
Not this
glossy,
deadbeat dad.
Yeah, like, not this glossy deadbeat dad. Someone who actually cared and wanted
exactly,
to make amends.
And was actually trying to. Before he got curtains.
Miguel's the key to like making peace with both these. Different worlds.
Restoring peace to his relatives.
Yeah. So then, his great-great-grandmother comes in. Like, she saves both of them, but she's like, what are you doing here, you...
Yeah, she's still real mad at him. Like, well, you left. I'm still mad at you. I still have my feelings about this. I don't know how I feel about you, but I still kind of like you because you're my husband. But I'm still really mad that you left. This is all your fault.
And Miguel's like, look, don't send me back yet. We have to get his photo back so I can put it up.
Right, make it right.
And that leads to the final confrontation where they break into Ernesto's performance, try to steal the photo. And again, another just killer sequence. Circumstances end up with the great-great-grandmother on the stage as, like, as Ernesto tries to get the photo back.
Right.
And she's singing.
Yeah, she accidentally gets put on the stage in the spotlight. And she gets a song. She gets a little solo.
Yeah. And then, like, Ernesto takes it over. And they have this, like, gorgeous dance fight.
Yes.
Where it's, like, the audience is enthralled, but it's actually kind of terrifying. But they're,
like, fighting over this.
Like,
right, he's still a murderer.
He becomes a genuinely terrifying presence just because of how much stronger he clearly is. Like, and yeah, it's this great sequence. And then they basically, in terms of how they wrap all of this up, they have a moment kind of similar to Monsters, Inc., where they basically get evidence of the bad guy, secret bad guy being bad.
Oh, that is like, I forgot all about that part of Monsters, Inc. But yeah, they literally, because it's like a live, like, performance, so they have, like, these
cameras and
these, like, yeah, like, projected on these screens, so, like, they put camera 3 on Ernesto while he's
backstage.
Being evil.
Yeah, as he
literally saying
Miguel
his own name. Yeah, he's like, I'm Ernesto de la Cruz, and then he murders somebody. So he pretty much, like, confesses to his own, to his own murder of Hector, and also murders a child, but doesn't really murder a child. But if he threw Miguel, a little boy off a building. Balcony. Yeah, he tossed him over the edge. He straight up threw Miguel over the edge.
And he manages to get saved, but he ends
by
up
the
losing
spirit
the picture.
animal. Yeah, he lost the picture, but this is where the spirit animal, like his great-great-grandmother's spirit bird.
Yeah, spirit. That's actually a great moment.
I can't figure out what that thing is.
After the like puma thing saves him, it turns toward the camera and starts walking into frame, and then it comes from off stage and just terrorizes Ernesto until he's crushed by a bell again.
Oh yeah,
which I'm like, that's a good
really cool
villain ending. That's like a good comeuppance moment. So now Miguel has this ticking clock where he needs to go back because it's almost sunrise.
Right, he is turning more and more into a skeleton himself.
Hector is
kind of convulsing. Right, yeah, Hector is like really about to disappear because his Coco is aging, and I mean, in the human life, she's like getting close to her own death in a way you could say that, but she's gonna forget, and if she actually dies and comes into the world,
then that's the end.
It's over for her. Yeah, like it's just over.
So he gets whipped back into the human world, rushes with the guitar to Coco, and in one of the best moments of the film has this really emotional trying to get her to remember, and then finally starts playing as his family watches.
Right.
And like basically makes peace with the entire family.
Pretty much, yeah.
She starts talking for the first time.
Right, yeah, and like full coherent sentences too. Like she's like cured. But that reminds me of like I was recently just watching these videos on Facebook like about they go to like, it was like some nursing home they went to, and they talked to this man who was like had dementia or something, and they played like music from his like era, like 1930s like big band, and like all of a sudden he was like speaking sentences, like it was like he had like when woken up and was like had like a functioning like mind again, like he was like an entire human being again. So like that wasn't just like Disney magic, quote unquote. Like this is actually like proven science. Like
yeah, and it's it like I know it's a stereotype to say you cry during Pixar movies, but that got me.
But this was touching. Yeah, she was. Like, that, like, brought her back to life real quick.
Just because it was just perfectly shot and executed.
Yeah, because we really get to see her face, like...
Like, I know, yeah, we finally get to see her face, too, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, animation kind of gets stigmatized as not real filmmaking, because it has its own category and stuff, and its own genre, but that's filmmaking. Like, that's why Pixar is Pixar, because before they have animators, they have filmmakers. People who know how to move a camera, how to have the light hit, how color should look, how actors should be performing to create the emotion of a scene perfectly. And that's one of their best examples of that. Where everything, like, you've been building up to this moment for an entire film, and you execute it flawlessly to create this visceral, real feeling and a satisfying conclusion to the story. And it just works like gangbusters.
Yeah.
Because, and like, from an analytical sense, it's like, Miguel's personal conflict or external conflict of wanting to perform,
right,
and his internal conflict of rebuilding his family. But again, even beyond all that stuff, it's just emotional, it feels visceral, and you feel it.
Right.
So that basically leads us to the end of the film, right?
End of the film, yeah, where, like, Disney pulls your heart out one last time, just in case you were, like, recovering from, like, this last scene. Nah, like, now it's time to, like, shed a couple more tears.
It jumps a year later.
A year ahead.
Ernesto has basically been outed as a fraud because...
And a murderer.
Because Coco had all these letters and all this evidence that it was Hector who wrote all the music.
Right. And they end up making this, like, kind of museum thing about like, what all those letters were framed up there and, like, everything like that.
But then... The
moment... We go back to... It's Day of the Dead again. And we go back to... First of all, Miguel is in the room with his newborn baby sister because his mother this whole time was pregnant throughout this entire movie.
I will say, the one downside is his mom gets no screen time.
No, yeah, she got, like, a couple different lines. But she did give birth to this little baby.
Yeah, which I guess it's cool that there's a movie about a boy and his grandmother and his great-grandmother.
Right, yeah. I mean, like, where would we even see that?
Yeah,
but yeah, his actual mother, immediate mother, didn't really have, like, that too big of a part. But anyway, she was pregnant during the movie, so at the end, he's in the room showing his baby sister all these pictures. And then his abuelita comes in with a picture frame of Coco and puts it
is dead
on the shelf. Because Coco passed away.
Year.
And, like, granted, like, she is decrepit. I mean, like, this woman does not have that much time left, but I still wasn't ready for them to be like, oh, she's up here too.
It's still, like, again, and that's a sign of the maturity, the commitment to that.
Right.
Where it's like, this is going to be a gut punch after a happy ending.
Right.
And yet, it's still a happy ending.
It killed me, but I was like,
because the end of the film...
This was beautiful.
Is...
And I was not ready to see her picture up there for her to just be like, place her picture up on the mantle like she's next.
Like, in terms of visual storytelling, that's just such a brilliant, simple way of doing it.
Right.
But then, so Hector's going through the security.
Customs again,
He finally gets through. So him, his wife, who's now made peace
reunited,
with him, and his daughter, Coco.
And Coco is there, actually, so...
They all walk together and have this scene where they're all with the family.
Yes, all of the deceased family members. Yeah, they come back to the family. Yeah, Miguel is singing his song, and his whole family is happy, and the music is back in their family.
Yeah.
And there it is.
That's the end. And I love that ending, because Pixar are masters at the happy but imperfect ending. Like, Ratatouille was my favorite Pixar ending in the sense that they didn't get everything they wanted. The restaurant they loved closed.
Right.
Like, this critic got embarrassed. But yet they're still going on anyway. They found a new restaurant, they're trying new things, and they're still happy.
Right.
People got what they wanted, even if it wasn't exactly what they wanted. This is another perfect example of that, where it's like, yes, they lost his great-grandmother, but they're still all together, and they're happy.
Right.
And in terms of what little I do know about Day of the Dead, I feel like that is the best capturing of the concept, where we shouldn't mourn the dead. We should celebrate
because they're living anyway. And they actually have proof of that. Like, they were like, seemed like this is just another life. Like, this is just another phase of their lives.
Yeah. We should be celebrating who they were, and that they'll always be with us in some way. Mm-hmm. And in terms of, like, I don't know, in terms of capturing a happy ending in that sense, it was gorgeous.
I was satisfied with it. I loved it.
Yeah.
So that was Coco.
So that was the more in-depth
discussion of Coco.
A visceral, emotional film that feels real, lived in.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Every part of it felt human and genuine.
Very, very alive. Like, just every inch of it, like, filled to the brim with...
heart.
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, it might rival Ratatouille as my favorite Pixar film.
You think so?
It's gonna be up there. Like, I feel like we have to grade Pixar on a curve now, where it's like, of course it's better than everything else that came out this year, but how does it rate compared to the other ones?
Right, that's true. I don't know. I have been more partial to Disney than I ever have Pixar. Like, anyway,
this definitely has been a Disney
like
era.
number one Pixar. I don't know. Yeah, I actually think for me, like, Up is one of my favorites, but I don't know. So for me, it would be between Up and Coco.
For me, it's Ratatouille and Coco.
Yeah, you've always loved Ratatouille.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I love the ending of Ratatouille in terms of, like, capturing how you can have a happy ending without making it sappy.
Right.
Or, like, too perfect.
Right.
But, and a lot of other reasons, too. But, yeah. And again, between this and Moana, it's just nice to see Disney telling stories they've never told before.
Exactly.
But earnestly. Like, they're not half-assing it. They're not using it just to pick and choose aesthetic things they want.
Right.
They're telling a story about this
asking
world.
People from that world to tell their own story.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before.
Disney shine.
Exactly, right.
And I think it's pretty damn awesome we live in an era where that can be happening.
Yeah, I'm proud of them. Like, this was very, very well done. Because this could have been a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they could have easily ruined this, but it was super well done. Like, so much dignity and very sophisticated. And I can't wait to see it again. I really want to see it again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to take a quick pause and then wrap up our show. So before we wrap up, real quick, we just wanted to talk about the trailer.
Incredibles 2.
Yes. So after almost 10 years and all this build-up over the last year or so, we've finally gotten a trailer. A teaser trailer, if you will.
A teaser trailer, yeah. And it's all over Facebook. I mean, a lot of people have seen it, but it did play during today's movie. And, deep sigh. I don't know. Listen, I've been waiting, like... Yeah. How long has it been?
Almost
that we have been...
More than 10 years.
Let me say, like, the Incredibles movie was incredible. Like, it was such a wonderful movie.
There's a reason it's still in Pixar's, like, top 3 or 4 for most people.
Exactly. So, I mean, I have high hopes for this second movie, and this trailer really isn't doing it for me. Like... the only character we really haven't been introduced to at all is Jack Jack. I mean, obviously we've been introduced to him, but, like, the character that we have the least information about is Jack Jack.
Who serves as basically a Deus Ex Machina for the end of the first Incredibles.
Exactly. But do we want Jack
that?
Jack the musical? Like, do I want Jack Jack the movie?
One of my sinking fears throughout this entire process is they're going to give way too much time to this baby. And basically, like, you know how Cinderella, it's like 30% of the film is Cinderella, and then 70% of the film is this cat and mouse game with the cat and the mouse? Mm-hmm. I'm worried they're going to do that.
I'm worried that it's just going to be a bunch of Pixar shorts featuring Jack Jack sewn together into a film.
To make the illusion of a film.
Right. They're just going to be like, here's a baby with superpowers doing a cool thing here and here and here. Like, it's just going to be a series of shorts, like, tied together.
Like, and I understand this is a teaser. You don't want to give too much away.
Right.
It's literally just a, hey, this is coming out. We want you to get excited for it. But still, it's been 10 years.
But they used this window to just talk about this one character.
It's like, it's been 10 years. You can give us a little more than that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean...
No, either. It's been 10 years, but, like, he's also still an infant. So, like, has it, like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Is it really been 10 years for them? Maybe
I think in the plot, it's only supposed to be, like, a year has passed.
Right.
And I will say, I do like the art style. I like how they took the original designs of the characters and made them a little slicker, a little more cartoony, so they don't look as Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got a little bit of Mr. Incredible.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. A little disappointed.
Yeah, honestly, I am too. But that's all we had to talk about.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get that in, that we saw an Incredibles 2 trailer. Did you remember seeing any other trailers that seemed, like, remotely interesting?
Wrinkle in Time. But that's mostly because I love the director.
That's right. I completely forgot about A Wrinkle in Time. That looks amazing.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I can't wait to
see that. Mindy Kaling, Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon.
It's just going to be fun.
What's his name? Chris Pine? Is that his name?
Chris Pine is always fun.
Yeah. So that should be solid. And other than that, I think that wraps up our Coco talk.
Oh, yeah. Thank you all for listening. It's great to be back.
Right. Who knows when we'll be back after this, because things are uncertain. We'll probably be back towards like winter.
Or Christmas.
Yeah.
But
because that's when our next break is.
Yeah.
After we get through with the semester.
But is the moral of the story not to remember us even when we're away or gone?
Those are the lyrics to the song, by the way. If you, I guess, remember us. Even though like we don't intend on like dying or anything within the next. Yeah. But
I'm not around enough bells for that to happen.
Right, that's true. Okay.
Yeah, I'm losing my voice, so we should.
Yeah, it's time to go.
All right. And from the Disney desk, I'm Carter.
And I'm Sydney.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.